Hello everybody. Today let's have a look on quality of RTX 480 cards and see which one we can recommend to purchase. So the first one, as you might be familiar with this spreadsheet, it's a Asus RTX 480 Noctua OC edition, which is very cool running card, but the price, at least at this moment, is too high. For this price, $1,650, you can get 4090. But anyway, let's have a look at this card quality and what this card can offer. So the GPU temps is pretty low, 64 degree, normalized 58, and memory, again, anything below 80 degrees is very good. Let's have a look on component cooling. So they use the Noctua fan, which is top quality ones. The size and the weight you can see in the table. The fans use double ball bearing and double BIOS. Here we can see that memory chips obviously has a direct contact, and the VRM chips has a direct contact. Backplate also has some thermoplates, but which is missing, and why I put the good rating for the component cooling is that for the coils or the VRM chokes for both sides are cooled by the air coming through the fins. Also, these capacitors doesn't have a direct contact. Again, they are cooled through the air. That's why in this case we put the good rating for the component one. And in my previous videos, a lot of people mistaken this column with the component quality. It doesn't have to do anything with the component quality. It is, you can see, it's a cooling section which is marked blue, and everything under it is related to the cooling. So quality for the components is this graph, especially for VRM chips, and most of the cards usually use the same memory. Sometimes they happen when one manufacturer especially can use Samsung instead of Hynix, but with Micron, if one is using Micron, then almost all other AIB partners are using Micron. So, as I said, the coils and the capacitors are not directly cooled, which is not so good, but this card used the top quality memory chips, 15 phase design, which is more than enough, as this card consumes even less power than the 3080 and 3090. It has a power limit 352, which you can see here, so like 10% above factory power limit. And the strength of this card is a silent operation. As you can see here, it can go even 23.6 if you choose the quiet BIOS. The temps will rise a little bit, but again, everything within the limit. 71 is perfectly fine. Hotspot just 11 degrees higher is perfectly fine. The memory 80 degrees perfectly fine. And dead silent operation. That's even the normal BIOS is a dead silent, but this one is another level silent. So we can see here we don't have any other card which has this factory settings here, which can run so silent. And this is very good result, showing that the Noctua fan is doing their job here. But again, I cannot recommend this card. $1,650. You can buy 4090 Gigabyte Gaming OC, which is very good card, and get much better performance from that card. So this one I cannot recommend for this price point. So the next one is a Asus RTX. Let's say the flagship of the Asus lineup. Again, you have to pay $1,450, almost $250 more, and it's again dangerously close to $490. Just don't pay attention to this price. It has happened like in November 15, so now you can get $490 for 1600 around, even less if you buy in OfferUp and other places. Like mine, I got for 1100. Gigabyte Gaming OC sealed completely. I don't know how I managed to get that deal, but I got it for 1100. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a look at the design of the cooling. Again, very familiar design. It's a longer card than the Noctua edition. It's also heavier, but it consumes less slots. So for Noctua, you have to have around 4 slots free. This one is a 3 slot. Again, 12-pin connector. And the same, we can see here that only the VRM chips has a direct contact with the heatsink. Besides that, the coils and capacitors are cooled through the air coming through the fins, which is not so good. And the VRM chips, they're using very high quality one. Also the controller is a MPS, which is very good, and it has 3 more phases compared to the Noctua one. Again, 15 phases is more than enough. 18 phases is like the overkill, but anyway, this card has all that with some spare. Again, running very quiet, as I can say, like you can put on quiet bias. 30.4 dBA is very quiet operation. 32, you might hear a little bit, but like anything 30 and below, especially if you have some not so good fans in your case, you cannot hear the GPU through that fans noise. But if you have very silent case, then like you put it on the quiet mode, 63 degree, just 1 degree increase, like I would definitely run this card only on quiet mode without your thinking. Now let's compare the normalized. Again, normalized is just 1 degree more than the Noctua one, and like almost 7 degrees less than the Founders Edition. The power limit for this card is higher. Here we can see it's 420 watts compared to the Noctua. It's 17% more than the default factory power limit. Again, good component cooling because it's missing direct contact for the coil and capacitors. The fan types using double ball bearing, which is very good. More than enough power limit if you are extreme overclocker. Silent operation, even silent, more silent on quiet bias. But again, so even at the 19th of July, the initial $1,450 came down to $1,365, which is still higher than Founder Edition, than Inno 3D, MSI. So we have to look to the other cards, see what benefit we will get paying this higher price tag, and then we'll decide if we should recommend this card or not. At this point, we're still holding on this card and going to the next one, which is the colorful 480 Ultra Wide OC. This one was initially released just $50 more, and I couldn't find lower price even after several months. So we'll put that $1,250. Let's have a look. So go. We can see more or less similar story as on the Asus cards. Just one differentiation. Have a look here. 1, 2, 3. This is additional VRM chips with the coils. Both has a direct contact. So coils for these VRM chips is missing direct contact, but these three has direct contact. And also no thermal pads on the backplate. And here we can see it. 1, 2, 3. These three coils with the chips, they both have a direct contact. But the rest is missing. This capacitors is missing direct contact. This coils is missing direct contact. I don't know. These two also look like coils. They also don't have anything higher. So one bad thing compared to the Strix, that they are using low tier Alpha Omega VRM chips, which has more probability of going bad compared to the NCP or MPS or SIC TD8 that both are much higher quality ones. When this one has statistics of going bad much frequently than the other one. Now let's have a look at the temperatures. So here we can see this card is very noisy one compared to the other ones. It's 38, and even on quiet they call it turbo bias, but yeah, even on turbo bias it even runs. So something is wrong here, I guess. You can see here too, that's why I was confused. So less noise, less temperatures. I guess this one should be here, this one should be here. Because we see the higher RPM, higher noise, but all parameters is higher. So this is the small mistake from Tech Power Up, which we noticed. So even at 38 dB, we can see that card runs 67. So we should also fix it here. 67, and then 62. One more interesting thing, that these two numbers cannot be equal. Now I'll say you why. As it happens in the 4070 videos too. Look here. 35 dB, 67. 67. If you assume this number is correct, then 38.3 cannot be 67. It just cannot be 67. It should be at least like 65, maybe 66. Because 3 dB means high RPM for the fans. And like if the fans are pushing more air and still getting the same temp. So we'll put the asterisk here. Just to know that this number could be inaccurate. Not could be, it's definitely inaccurate. Or this one is higher, or this one should be lower. But as we have also lower measurements for high RPM, so as you hear, we increased 1.8 dBA, we decreased like 3 degrees. There we decreased 3.3 dBA and cannot have the same temperature. It should be like here, this number should be higher. So let's put, if that's a 3 degrees difference in just 1.8, let's put like 71. You can even calculate here. So 3 degrees divided by 1.8 multiplied by 3.3, 5.5. So this one should be 72.5 asterisks above the 38.3. course, this one cannot be linear, but instead of guessing, at least there is some calculation behind of this number. So this card is running very noisy. We don't have information about the fan type. The VRM chips are low quality, and it says higher price than the competitors. Again, like this one, we can definitely say no way we are going to recommend this one with this price. So currently we cannot recommend the Noctua one, and the color for the Asus we have to see if it's the parameters is justified this $165 more price tag or not. Let's go to the next one. Next one is a Gigabyte gaming OC. Again, very good price if we compare it based on the July 19 brand new prices. Only the PNY is lower than this one, so this one can be potential recommendation card for us. Now let's have a look. And gaming OC doing a really good job. We can see that all coils, all VRM chips here too, they all have a direct contact. That's why it's getting very good rating. The only thing which is missing is the contacts for the capacitors, but that's very rare when GPU manufacturers put thermal pads on the capacitors. So in our chart, whenever we see that the coils has a direct contact, we put a very good rating. So again, using the Alpha Omega VRM chips, which is not so good, 18 phases, 340 power limit, relatively silent operation, but again, just have a look on temperatures, 58 degree. If 34.3, we're getting 58. If we can hear the noise of the card in our computer, then we can decrease the fan RPMs like around 30 dBA, make here like 65 degree, 70 degree on memory, then enjoy our silent operation of the card. The only downside of this card is the lower quality VRM chips. But also this card has a fuse on PCI Express. You can see this one. So if the card goes bad, it will protect your motherboard. So not taking into consideration lower quality VRM chips, which is in this case of 18 phases, there will be much less load per VRM. So again, situation is repeating as in 4070 series. We can pay less attention on this Alpha Omega VRM chips quality and put more attention on the price, on how cool is the card, how good is the component cooling. So this card could be potential recommendation if we won't find anything with more or less same specifications, same numbers, plus better VRM chips. So let's continue and search further. So the next one is a gamer. This one, it was introduced 1300, and the price I checked, it was same 1300 now. Let's see the component cooling quality. Here we can see excellent component cooling. We can see VRM chips, coils, there's direct contact. Backplate doesn't have pads, but that's not critical because the memory temps are very low for this card. Here we can see that the coils, VRM chips, there's direct contact, only the capacitors is missing. Let's have a look on the VRM chips. It's an NCP, which is compared to Alpha Omega, has less probability of going bad, but it's not considered top of the line components, but still the probability is less. Let's have a look on the temperatures. Here we can see the both BIOS configurations. It's very good noise level, temperatures very good, memory really good. Compared to Founders Edition's noise normalized 3 degrees cooler, but the price is $120 more compared to this one. So we can say that, and no fuse on the card. Again, 18 phases and power limit 400 watts, so power limit also higher than Gigabyte. So let's say compared to the Gigabyte, and even let's compare to the Strix first. Compared to the Strix $65 more, you pay for the Strix, you get temperature-wise more or less the same. Component cooling is better. You don't have any information about fan type. Noise level more or less the same. Size is more compact. Power limit more or less same. Quantity of phase is same. A little bit lower quality because this one is tire A, let's say. This is like tire B components. But again, like 18 phases, and both doesn't have. So in this case, I would think like, is it worth paying $65 more for just that Strix name or not? Maybe it doesn't work. But if you compare it with the Gigabyte, the gap is even more. It's $120 more, which you can put into your, for example, CPU upgrade. If you have like 7600 of AMD, you can go to 7700, for example, which will give you 2 extra cores and then more performance. But again, so this is not competitor to this one. This is more competitor to the Strix. So between this one, more probably I will recommend buying the Game Board. But let's look on the cheaper version of Game Board, which is Game Board Phonics GS. Introduced $1,200. So this one is the same price as the Founders Edition. Let's have a look on the cooling. Cooling, here we can see only one side. Again, no thermal plates on the back plate. Here we can see that we have the RX, so we have to compare this to make sure. So we have VRM chips and the coils here. They both has a direct contact. We have 2 coils and 2 VRM chips here. And this is the top one. So both VRM chips and both coils has a direct contact. One is here. Again, we can see thermal plates for the coil and the VRM chips as a direct contact. One is here and one is here. We can see here and here. The only direct contact is missing for one coil, which is this one. This is being here. So they couldn't put the thermal plate because there is no pins here, just open space. So only this one, which is responsible for the memory, is being cooled with the air. The rest has a direct contact with thermal plates. That's why we put the good rating, because this one is missing. But again, only one. Compared to other good ratings, which was missing for all coils, this one is missing only one coil. But still, cannot put very good to compare this one, but you have to take into consideration this detail. Again, using NCP, which is equal to the previous version. Let's have a look on temperatures. So it has one bias, temperatures are really good, noise level is good, hotspot memory. Let's see normalized temperatures where this is sitting here, 2 degrees cooler. Let's have a look on power limit. Power limit, there is no power limit. They put it to differentiate it from other cards, but again, if you are not the extreme overclocker, it won't have any major impact on overclocking, which you can see here. Like it overclocks, getting the same as, for example, the Gaming X, which we still didn't review, but like here in my tab you can see it has 370, or almost same as the Founders Edition. So it's not that much important if you are not going to do extreme overclocking. And one thing which I think should be double checked is this one. So here, this one just have a 12 phase. So we can see this is the lowest phase card above all of this. So in this case, the load per phase will be much higher compared to the other one, but again, this one consumes less than 3090, even 3080. So that shouldn't worry. Let's have a look at this particular card. So it's 300 watts. Yeah, I said less than 3080. So if you are not going to overclock it, 1200, and if you want something quiet and a little bit better components compared to the Gigabyte, you can get this one. As both cards has very similar PCB, the only difference is the quantity of phases for the Gigabyte and the power limit. But let's not stop on this one and say that this is our recommendation for 1200, as we have other cards here. Let's have a look on the next one, which is Inno 3D. Again, this card has 1200 price tag. Here we can see that all the RMs and the RM chokes all has a direct contact from both sides. Here we can see it. All has a direct contact. The only it looks clumsy how they put the components on the card. They are not equally distributed, let's say. But again, they cool down even these chips. And yes, just noticed. So here we can see they just cool down the VRM and missing the cooling for the here. Yeah, so we are going to downgrade it to a good level as we had for the game world. Now again, let's look. The noise level is a little bit higher. Temperatures more or less same. The only difference is the temperature for memory is very low, but again below 80 doesn't matter. Has two more phases, and the ARM chips it use Alpha Omega 1, which is again so between these two cards I would definitely recommend the Game World, even though it has two less phases. So next one is the Founders Edition 1200. Let's see the cooling. Here we can see that although this is the metal plate, but there is no thermal plates on it. There is just some thermal plates on the back plate. So here we can see it's a metal plate. Maybe they just calculated in that way that the coils are touching this metal plate. I don't know, but I don't see the thermal plate, so I put a good rating. Here we can see the coils. So only the VRM chips has a direct contact. The VRM chips it use MPS, which is top tier, better than Alpha Omega and NCP obviously, and the MPS controller, which is very good. Now let's see the temperatures. So we can see it's running on the noisier side compared to the others, but again, there is a room for tuning, decreasing like to 30 dB, increasing this one maybe 67, 68, and this one 72, 74, and having very silent card, very compact card. Also, we can see it's not the worst one. So power limit for extreme overclocker, there is like 11% power limit. So this card, let's say, I can say that better than the Inno3D because has much better ARM components, has similar component cooling, has similar temperatures, a little bit noisier, but again, you can control it, much compact card compared to the Inno3D, so it's better than Inno3D, better than Game World, has one phase more, and this one has 13, let's double check. Yeah. So one more than the Game World, so again, same price, this one is much better card compared to this one. This one just a little bit quieter, but again, you can get that level of quietness by getting up a little bit in the temperatures. So this is my recommendation for $1,200. But have a look at the Supreme. So this one was introduced $1,380, and I didn't manage to find it cheaper even now. So we compare that price level, which is more or less equal to the Strix. Let's see what we get with this card. So with this card, we see that it's being cooled through this metal piece, which at least for these VRM chips, like this VRM chips has a direct contact with the heatsink, but these VRM chips doesn't have a direct contact. They are being cooled through this metal piece. So we are putting OK rating for this type of cooling. Here we can see thermal pad for the VRM chips, which is expander for the GPU, which runs much hotter. Backplate has thermal pads, but again, the component cooling is okay. Here we can see that these ARM chips, which is not visible here, that is visible here. So these ones cooled through the metal piece. This one has a direct contact with the cooler heatsink. Again, NCP, 18 phases. Let's have a look on temperatures. Temperatures are really good. There is you can run, as I said, super silent mode. 66, 70 is more than enough. Cooler normalized is one of even better than the Asus version, but not equal to the Noctua, because here they don't have an option. So it's equal to the Noctua, better than the Strix. And the power limit, let's have a look, power limit 400. So if we compare these two Strix to the Supreme, you have to choose between component cooling, okay or good, because the rest, and yeah, and also the VR engine, so okay, you don't have to choose. I would definitely go with the Strix one. It costs less, it runs similar temperatures, you can adjust the noise level, get even that, similar quantity of phases, higher power limit a little bit, and much better the VR chips. Yeah. So between these two, and the premium products, like in any category we have one as like MSRP price and one for the people who want some premium products. Between these two premium products, between these three, let's say Noctua, Strix, and Supreme. I can say like the Strix is our recommendation. But we still have 2 more cards, which we'll review it now. So the next is should be Gaming X. Where is the Gaming X? So the Gaming X was introduced again, higher price tag, $110 more, but now it's being sold equal almost to Founders Edition, so we're comparing with that price segment of the cards. Let's have a look. So again, we can see that I guess it's going to the same direction as the Supreme. Like it's I guess it's the same card, just a different looking cooler. So everything looks similar. PCB design. Again, that's why it's getting okay component cooling. Now let's have a look on the VRM chip manufacturer, which is NCP. It's the same. So it's basically the same board, just different cooler design, different name. Let's have a look at the temperatures. Temperatures also a little bit similar, I guess a little bit differently tuned than Supreme, but the temperatures are very close. They make intentionally just a little bit worsen the temperatures, but again, it's very good, very silent, cooler normalized. It's 4-degree cooler, power limit 370, of course, obviously, and 2 less phases. The same card, just they didn't solder 2 phases. Put it the BIOS a little bit lower power limit, different cooler. So between these two, obviously better buy, just save you $160 and buy this one. If we'll be comparing with other cooler, other cards, the previous 1200 number one contender, let's say, was the FE versions. From now, we can say that it's just you have to choose between the okay and good. Again, as this one has more phases, so the load per phase is less, so and also the heat will be a little bit less. And that's anyway, all VRM chips has a direct contact, at least with some metal plate. That should be okay. So I would buy MSI instead of FE, Gaming OC, and all other cards within this price range. But we have 3 more cards, so let's have a look. So the next one is a PNY. It was introduced 1200, but now it's being sold 1150. Let's have a look what we are getting for this much of money. So good chunky heatsink, 3.5 slot. You can see that most of the VRM chips and the coils has a direct contact. Only 3 is missing. Backplate has a thermal paste. So this 3 is missing the direct contact. This one is getting good last rating using NCP VRM chips. The temperatures are really good. The noise level is perfect. You can even go higher, so you can see it running 5 degrees cooler, noise normalized. The only downside is the power limit. It is less than the Founders Edition, which is the least available. Only Inno3D and Game World has similar power limit, but again, it has more or equal phases, more than Founders Edition, has good VRM chips, good component cooling, better noise. So let's say our recommendation, this is the last affordable card reviewed. We can see that our recommendation could be similar like this. We have the PNY, our number one recommendation for this price segment. Number two could be Gaming X. Number three, Founders Edition. So whatever is available in your region with least price, that one you can grab. Or the design, whichever design you like, that one you can grab. Doesn't matter. All these three cards will provide similar quality. Now let's have a look at the top tier cards which left. So Gaming Rock. This is a Russian forum website translated into English. Here we can see that it's good cooling because again missing here the coils. These three coils is being cooled only through the air, so it's getting good rating. You can see that temps are okay, noise level is good, just 20 more power limit, more phases, NCP, but the price tag is higher than Strix, so it automatically cannot be our recommendation for premium 480. And the next card is a Zotac. And the Zotac has been introduced to 1400, now it's being sold 1315, cheaper than Strix. And again, missing some direct contact for the coils. Backplate has a thermal pads. So here we can see that these three coils missing direct contact, and this one has a completely overkill 24 phases, which I guess this board was used for 4090. They just didn't bother to make a new board and use this one for 480. But using Alpha Omega VRM chip, which is not good. And the temperatures is okay, but the noise level is high. But still, you can normalize it, like go to 30 dB, increase here to 70, 70 here, and have a silent operation without normal temperature level. And again, normalized, it's running lower than the Founders Edition. So if not this point, I can say that this one would be our number one recommendation for premium 480, but again, only for this one. We cannot recommend it over Strix, over Supreme, even though it has better component cooling than Supreme, but again, we cannot recommend it. So that's it. We reviewed 13 cards, and more or less they will be available in your country, so you can compare. If you want premium products, then you have two options. If you want the cheapest available, affordable, then you have three options to choose. Whichever is cheaper, whichever is design you like more, that one you can buy. There is nothing critical between these cards. So thank you for watching, and we'll be doing similar series for all other cards until we cover all of them.